And I am back with another, well, with the same mixed media recipe by Jessie. I promised you guys that I would make it up to her, and today is the day, but it is also Stretch the Sketch, which means that it is Sunday and not a Friday, and I'm okay with that, because I felt like I needed to do the recipe some justice. Okay, so I have a few cut files here because, as you noticed, I did not have a video up for yesterday because I was moving it to today. I know, I'm a cheater, but it's my channel. I do what I want. Anyways, I have 4 photos, which means I will be doing a 2-page layout, and these really fun alphabets by Thickers, and I can't remember what the name of them is called. This little stencil came from a kit club, and then I'm going to use Blew My Mind Inklings as my watercolor. So I've got the little pot right here already soaking up the water, so I can go ahead and use it. I want it nice and juicy. And then I pulled out this October Afternoon blast off paper. I was trying to find if it had a like collection name or something. Rocket Age is what it was, but the paper was called Blast Off. I don't end up using it, just to let you guys know. So these 2 photos, or these 4 photos, I should say, actually were, is going to be an insert into a 2-page layout that I already did, and I did it in a space theme, so I wanted to do that same exact effect. That's why I pulled out that little scrap of paper that was left over from that said layout. This doesn't end up looking spacey at all, but I do like the end result. So I'm going to go ahead and get out my messy mat because yet I'm still not sure if I'll ruin my desk or get my desk messy, to where I can't clean it up if I use mixed media on it. So mixing up that paint so I get that beautiful sparkle coming up from the bottom into my color. And I'm going to paint my stencil. Instead of put the paint through my stencil, I'm going to paint my stencil and use it as a stamp. I know, I'm just so weird. So those stickers were called Creek, just to let you guys know. I don't know where they came from. I think they came in a kit. To be honest, that's actually where I got my first set of thickers, and I've been addicted ever since. I just need to use up all those big word stickers. They're not big as in size big, but they're pre-made words, and I need to use those first before I can move forward and use all the alphabets, right? Because what I'm going to be left over is a bunch of words that I never use. All right, so I'm very briefly going over my stencil with my brayer. Now this this is my brayer that I use on my Cricut, so I will definitely have to go and clean it very, very well, so that way when I use my white cardstock, I won't be getting any of this on my white cardstock that I cut for other people, right? I definitely don't want to do that. And then I was going to take some of this and double stamp it, just because I had a little bit of ink left, and then I got scared and chose not to do it on the left or on the right page. All right, so for this little arrow triangular die cut file, I'm going to paint the whole thing in Minor 49er. I have to tell you guys, I'm almost out. I've had this paint for a month, and I am almost out of said paint. I need another pot. Yes, I do. Isn't that crazy? Oh my gosh. It is just the perfect amount of gold. It's not too in your face. It's not too yellow. It is just absolutely perfect, you guys. And then I brought in Witch's Blue, not Brew, but Blue. I love these names, you guys. I brought that in to paint this cut file. Now, this cut file is just a pattern paper. I'm not a big fan of cut files being made out of pattern paper, so that is why I wanted to go ahead and cut it. Plus, it was off-white rather than white. So I went ahead and painted it just so it would match a little bit, and it ended up being too big for what I was going for, but I went with it anyways. I'm going to cut this triangular cut file in half, and then later I'm actually going to fussy cut it a little bit better so that way it's not the tips of some of the triangles aren't wonky. So here's where I'm going to go ahead and clean that up a little bit. I do end up using, the majority of this cut file, but what I decided for not needing the pattern paper, I decided to use my cut files as my photo mats in a way, right? I did not want to cover up most of this paper, and when I was bringing in that October afternoon, I felt like it was stealing the show, even though it really wasn't. I just felt like it was, because if you look at the sketch, which if you look at the sketch, it's coffee rings, and that's it. I mean, it is a very beautiful, very simple sketch, and I wanted I wanted to try to do a sketch, or to do a layout like that. And so I felt like that bringing in that pattern paper was going to take away from that. And so I really do end up liking how this turns out, considering this is my first time ever trying something like this. I am definitely a photo matter for sure. So it makes me think that maybe they're not, like, I'm missing something. But once I started going and getting past the whole I need a photo mat type of deal, I feel like these photos, because of the contrast they have against the white, they don't need a photo mat, in all honesty. They just definitely stick out. I love the fact that the triangles blend with the off-whiteness of the walls in our house. And so that definitely helps a lot, blending that color in. So for part of the mixed media recipe, I've got my stencil, I've got my watercolor, now I'm bringing in my green. But it's just the one green. So I'm looking at the color and I'm thinking outside the box. What can I bring in that is like this green? Because I didn't want to bring in a neon green. I didn't want to bring in a lime green. I wanted to bring in a green that matches, that's a bluey green. And so, of course, the Pining for You is the perfect green. And so I'm letting that pot sit and soak so I can use it later too. Then I brought in some of my solar systems, because I thought, in a way, they do kind of look like the yo-yos, especially the one that I'm coloring on now. Definitely looks like the yo-yos. Well, I did a terrible job coloring, which is fine. It doesn't really matter if it's not perfect, if it's not, looks like I store-bought it. Because I had a hard time getting my gel pen to actually flow. Once it started flowing, it was just fine. But I had a hard time at first. And when I mess up on one, I'm going to mess up on all of them, because then it looks like I meant to do it. It's kind of my cheat of, saying that I color like a 2-year-old. But I was also too lazy to go and get my paint markers, which would have just been absolutely beautiful. Plus, I like the fact that when the paint marker actually hits a spot in the wood that is imperfect, it splatters, like unintentional, but it's beautiful. I'm so messy that I actually enjoy when it does that. And the other layout has that as well, on those particular wood pieces that I colored on those ones too. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to incorporate a little bit of wood pieces, because I have that on the main layout that this is going to be sandwiched in between. And then here is the Pining for You. It is a beautiful green, you guys. Absolutely green, beautiful. It does not, it's not a Christmas green. It is definitely an outdoorsy green, and it dries so pretty, you guys. I'm in love with this green. I'm shocked that I still have some left, because it was my first. I've had it for about 2 months now. But the Minor 49er is definitely one that I use on a large scale, and so yeah, I need some more, please. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Like I said, this is a makeup for my botched mixed media mayhem from Friday. So I'm making it up, and I completed this layout for that reason, or at least that's where I picked and chose the items that were going to go for this layout. But it really is for Stretch the Sketch. I will pop up the the sketch here in a few minutes, so you guys can check that out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really truly appreciate it, and I will check y'all later. Bye.